Greetings, everyone, from Christ Church, Missoula. Once again, grace to you and peace. This is Pastor Flynn with our weekly meditation, which this week is from Revelation 22, verses 1 and 2. And he showed me a pure river water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding from the throne of God and of the Lamb. In the middle of its street and on either side of the river was the tree of life, which bore 12 fruits, each tree yielding its fruit every month. The leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. Today's meditation is part 2 in our discussion of the importance of worship. Last time in Exodus 30, verse 20, we saw how seriously God takes worship, the privilege of coming into his presence, and the danger of flippant or improper worship, and the length to which Jesus went to make our worship of God fully accessible. In today's meditation on Revelation 22, we see the centrality of worship for the spread of the kingdom of heaven and the transformation of the world. The worship is important. These verses in Revelation harken back to the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden was at a high point in the larger land of Eden, which was also elevated above the rest of the earth. A river flowed through the garden and through Eden, and then split into 4 rivers that flowed into the outlying lands and the rest of the earth. The garden was where man came into the presence of God. It was the place of worship. Man sinned and was cast out, barred from the presence of God by cherubim, and sin spread like a river to the ends of the earth. The restoration of man back into the presence of God, the path back to draw near to the Lord, is seen in the very structure of the tabernacle and later the temple. The presence of God seated on his throne is in the Holy of Holies, behind the veil, guarded by embroidered cherubim, like a small Garden of Eden. And as we saw last week in the Old Covenant, man can now once again draw near to God, but cautiously, because the time of the restoration of all things had not yet come. It wasn't until the Messiah arrived in the fullness of time that the restoration could begin. And because of the ministry of Jesus Christ and the new covenant, man now can boldly come into the presence of God. The veil of separation having been torn down, man can worship once again fully in his presence. The implication of this was seen by the prophet Ezekiel. In Ezekiel 47, he was given a vision of the new covenant temple that the Messiah will build when the time of the end has come. In his vision, a river flows out from under the temple, and as it flows, it gets deeper and deeper the further it goes out into all the world. And there are trees on either side of this river, and everywhere it goes, it brings life and healing, it says in Ezekiel 47, verses 1 through 9. But the river begins in the place of worship. This is the same picture in Revelation 22. The river of life comes out from the New Jerusalem, which is the church, as Galatians 4:26 makes clear. The river of life comes out from the New Jerusalem, which is the church, and is also the new covenant temple, as 1 Corinthians makes clear, and Ephesians 2:21, and 1 Peter 2:5. And like the river of Ezekiel's vision, this river flows through all the earth, healing the nations, reversing the curse of the fall, and man cursed from the presence of God. This is a vision of the ministry of the church. The ministry of the church flows like a river, spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ, extending his kingdom to all nations, transforming the world, and it begins at God's throne in his presence. It begins with worship, with our worship. May God grant us a deeper appreciation for the importance and the power of worship in our modern day. Truly, if we want to change our culture and our world, It has to start with worship. Thanks again for listening. Once again, Emmanuel, until next time,